I stared at my computer screen at 9:43 a.m. 6 months of work on the Atlas Tech campaign had vanished. Not corrupted, erased. The shared drive folder was empty. My desktop files were missing. Even my backup folder was gone. My hands shook as I refreshed the server. Nothing. Mason Reeves had been hovering near my desk since 9:15 asking about my weekend. Now I understood. The promotion review started at 10. Senior Creative Director. A $40,000 salary bump that would cover Emma's chemotherapy copies. I'd missed her last 3 appointments for this campaign. My husband Mike had stopped asking if I'd make the next one. The phone rang, Mason's extension. I answered, my voice cracking. "Hey, Rachel," he said cheerfully. "Wishing you luck today." I could hear his smirk through the phone. He was already celebrating. I hung up without responding. My desk photo stared back at me, Emma's bald head covered by her pink chemo hat. I'd promised her we'd fight this together. How could I tell her I'd lost? I opened my laptop's terminal, praying the autosave had failed. But I knew the truth. Mason had deleted everything. The question wasn't if I could recreate it by 10. It was, could I prove he'd stolen it before my daughter's treatment fund disappeared with my career? I joined Meridian Digital 3 years ago as a junior designer. Mason started 6 months later. He'd been gunning for my position since day one. Last month, he'd accidentally presented my concepts to Mr. Dalton as his own. Dalton had praised him publicly. I'd let it slide. Not this time. At 9:48 a.m., I called it. They said backup recovery took 4 hours minimum. I didn't have 4 hours. The review meeting started in 12 minutes. My phone buzzed, Mike texted. "Emma's appointment went well. Doctor says we need the next copy by Friday, $3,200. My stomach dropped. That money was tied to this promotion. Without it, we'd have to delay her next chemo cycle. I opened Slack and typed a desperate message to our CTO, Vanessa. "Emergency, files deleted before promotion review. Help." She read it immediately but didn't respond. The typing indicator blinked, then stopped. Nothing. The conference room door opened. Colleagues filed in with their laptops and coffee. Mr. Dalton stood by the whiteboard, checking his watch. I had 2 choices, walk in empty-handed and admit defeat or find another way. I typed one last message to Vanessa. "Mason did this. I can prove it. Give me until noon." I hit send, stood up, and walked toward the conference room. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was my last chance. I entered the conference room at 9:59 a.m. Mason sat in my usual seat, his laptop already connected to the projector. He gave me a pitying look. "Rachel, we saved you a spot," he said, pointing to a folding chair in the corner. Mr. Dalton cleared his throat. "Rachel, Mason tells me you're having technical issues. Can you present without your files?" I opened my mouth, but Mason interrupted. "Actually, Dalton, I have a backup presentation ready." Since Rachel's struggling, maybe I should lead today. He inserted a USB drive. My USB drive. The one I'd left on my desk yesterday. My name was scratched on the side. He hadn't even bothered to hide it. The projector lit up. My Atlas Tech campaign filled the screen. Every slide, every animation, every word identical to what I'd created, except the title page now read, "By Mason Reeves." The room burst into applause. Mr. Dalton beamed. "Mason, this is exceptional work. Exactly the vision we need." I sat frozen. My cheeks burned. My hands clenched into fists under the table. Mason caught my eye and winked. That's when I noticed it. In the corner of slide 3, a tiny watermark, my initials. I'd added it months ago, invisible against the background unless you knew where to look. He hadn't seen it, but I had. The room kept applauding, and I started planning. The meeting ended at 10:45 a.m. Mason walked out with handshakes and congratulations. I waited until the room emptied, then took a photo of the watermark with my phone. My initials, RJP, Rachel Jane Park, invisible to the naked eye, but there. Proof. I ran back to my desk. My Slack message to Vanessa had a reply. "Come to my office, now." I grabbed my laptop and sprinted upstairs. Vanessa's office had glass walls. She motioned me in and closed the blinds. "Tell me everything," she said. I laid out the timeline, Mason hovering, the deletion, the USB, the watermark. She listened, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she said, "Atlas Tech called me this morning. They want to know why the brilliant strategist from the pitch meeting seemed like a different person in the follow-up call." My pulse spiked. "What do you mean?" Vanessa pulled up an email. Mason couldn't answer their technical questions. He stumbled over basic strategy points. "They asked for you specifically, by name." She leaned forward. Rachel, I need you to prove you created this before 5 p.m. today. If you do, I'll personally terminate Mason and recommend you for his promotion. If you can't, you're both fired for fraud, clock's ticking. She handed me a company credit card. Hire a forensic specialist, whatever it takes. I took the card, my mind racing. 5 hours to save my career and my daughter's life. I rushed back to my desk and called a digital forensics firm. The specialist, a guy named Leo, answered on the second ring. Emergency service starts at $500 an hour, he said. I gave him Vanessa's credit card number without hesitation. I need you here in 30 minutes, bring everything. While I waited, I searched my personal email. I'd emailed myself drafts of the Atlas concepts. There, buried in my spam folder, 13 messages sent over 6 months. Each with time-stamped attachments. My work dated and delivered to my private Gmail for safekeeping. Old habit from when Meridian's server crashed in 2021. Leo arrived at 11:47 a.m. carrying a black case of equipment. He plugged into my computer and ran a program I'd never seen. Your colleague used a file shredder, he said, frowning. Military-grade deletion, but nothing's ever truly gone. He typed furiously. At 12:33 p.m., he pointed at his screen. Here, recovery log from last night's automated backup. Your files existed until 9:43 a.m. today. Then they were accessed from workstation Mr. 07, Mason's desk. He pulled up another screen. And here's the smoking gun. He copied them to an external drive first. The log showed a USB drive serial number, the same one he'd used in the meeting. My USB. I took photos of everything. At 1:15 p.m., I walked into Vanessa's office with a manila folder of proof. Mason Reeves committed corporate theft and wire fraud, I said, my voice steady. Here's the evidence. Vanessa reviewed the folder for 15 silent minutes. Her face grew darker with each page. Finally, she picked up her phone. Security, please escort Mason Reeves to my office. Do not let him touch his computer. She stood. Rachel, wait in the conference room. This will get ugly. I sat alone, my heart hammering. At 2:00 p.m., the door opened. Mason entered, flanked by 2 guards. His tie was loosened, his hair mussed. What's this about, Vanessa? He asked, trying to sound confident. She threw the folder on the table. You deleted Rachel's files and presented them as your own. We have logs, timestamps, and a USB serial number that matches the drive in your possession. Mason's face drained of color. That's a misunderstanding. Vanessa cut him off. Atlas Tech called. They want Rachel to lead the campaign. They said you couldn't answer basic strategy questions. Mason, you're terminated for cause, effective immediately. The guards stepped forward. You can't do this, Mason shouted. I'll sue. Vanessa smiled coldly. Please do. We'll countersue for the $2.3 million contract you nearly destroyed. Oh, and the FBI might want to talk to you about wire fraud. She nodded to security. They cuffed him. As they let him out, Mason turned to me. You think you won, he hissed. This is just beginning. The door slammed behind him. Vanessa turned to me. Your promotion is effective Monday. And Rachel, Atlas Tech wants to meet at 3 p.m. Don't be late. I walked back to my desk in a daze. Promotion. Monday, $40,000 raise. Emma's chemo copy. I could finally breathe. My phone buzzed. Mike had seen the company announcement email. You did it, he texted with 17 exclamation points. I called him immediately. Emma's next treatment is covered, I whispered, tears falling onto my keyboard. We're going to be okay. Mike cried on the phone. I heard Emma in the background asking why Daddy was happy crying. At 2:45 p.m., I gathered my materials for the Atlas Tech meeting. That's when my assistant, Maya, knocked on my cubicle wall. Rachel, someone left this for you. She handed me a sealed envelope. No name, no return address. Inside was a photograph. It showed me at Emma's last hospital visit. The date stamp was last Tuesday. I'd gone during lunch thinking no one knew. A sticky note on the back read, nice family, shame if something happened to them. My blood turned to ice. Mason had taken this. He'd followed me. He knew about Emma. I shoved the photo in my bag and told Maya to stay close to security for the rest of the day. Then I called the police. They took a report but said without direct threats, they couldn't do much. I wasn't satisfied. Nobody threatens my daughter. Nobody. The Atlas Tech meeting went perfectly. Sarah Chen, their CMO, shook my hand warmly. We're thrilled to have the real strategist, she said. Mason seemed hollow, like he was reading a script. We signed the contract extension. $2.3 million plus performance bonuses. I walked out feeling taller. Then my phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Rachel Park, a man's voice asked. This is Detective Rivera. We need to talk about Mason Reeves. My heart skipped. Released, he committed fraud. His lawyer posted bond. He's under house arrest, but he has internet access. We found something on his phone. Rivera paused. He posted your daughter's photo on a private forum asking for information about her treatment schedule. I stopped walking mid-sidewalk. People flowed around me like I was a rock in a river. What kind of forum? I whispered. A dark website for people seeking revenge, Rivera said. He's putting out feelers. We don't think he'll act, but nothing, I interrupted, my voice turning to steel. You need to protect my family. We are, he said, but you need to know he's not done with you yet. I hung up and called a private security firm. I wasn't waiting for police promises. Emma needed protection. By Friday morning, I had a security detail on my house. 2 former Marines, Carlos and Jace, rotating 12-hour shifts. Emma thought they were her new bodyguards and tried to give them stickers. Mike was less enthusiastic. Rachel, is this necessary? He asked while making coffee. Mason is under house arrest. He posted our daughter's treatment schedule online, I said quietly. He dropped the mug. It shattered on the tile. What? I showed him the police report. He read it, hands shaking. We're moving, he declared. Today. I put my hand on his. No, we're not letting him win, but we are being smart. Carlos installed a new security system. Jace walked Emma to the school bus, making sure the driver was legitimate. At work, Vanessa called me in. Mason's lawyer is threatening a wrongful termination suit, she said. He claims you framed him. I laughed, a bitter sound. With his own USB drive, she shook her head. It's smoke and mirrors, but I need you to be unimpeachable. No loose ends. She slid a document across her desk. This is a consulting agreement. If Mason sues, we hire you as an external expert witness. You get paid $500 an hour to testify against him. I signed it without reading. One more thing, Vanessa said. Mason's wife called me. She wants to talk to you, says she has proof he's done this before. My phone buzzed with her number. I hit dial. Mason's wife, Claire, answered on the first ring. Rachel, thank God, I need to meet you today. Her voice was shaky, like she'd been crying for days. We met at a coffee shop across town, away from prying eyes. She looked nothing like Mason's polished social media photos, tired, no makeup, trauma in her eyes. He's done this before, she said immediately, sliding a folder across the table. 3 times at his last job. I have copies of his termination letters. He lied on his Meridian application. Inside was a goldmine, not just termination letters, but emails where Mason bragged about beating the system. One message to a friend, just delete their files and play dumb, works every time. Dated 6 months before he started at Meridian. Why are you giving me this? I asked. Claire stared into her coffee. He hit me last week. When he found out you were getting his promotion, he said if I left, he'd destroy me. I'm done being destroyed. She pulled up her sleeve, showing bruises in the shape of fingers. I took photos, my hands steady with rage. I'm taking Emma and leaving tonight, she whispered. But you need to know he has a partner at Meridian, someone who helped him access your files. My blood ran cold. Who? She slid a sticky note across the table. A name I recognized. My own manager, David Klein, the one who'd recommended Mason for hire. I walked back to the office in a fog. David Klein, my manager for 2 years. The man who'd praised my work, given me raises, recommended me for the Atlas project. He'd also been the one to push Mason forward. They played golf together. I'd seen them at the company picnic, laughing. I went straight to Vanessa's office, Claire's folder clutched in my hands. We have a bigger problem, I said, spreading the documents on her desk. Her face grew darker with each page. David Klein, she whispered. He's been here 15 years. Check the access logs, I said. Mason couldn't have deleted my files without admin privileges. David gave them to him. Vanessa called it immediately. Pull all activity from David Klein's account for the last month. Focus on permission changes. While we waited, she looked at me. Rachel, I have statements from Mason's wife that you two conspired to push Rachel out, that you recommended hearing Mason specifically to replace her. David's face turned purple. Claire's a liar. She's divorcing him. She'll say anything. She has photos of bruises, David, and emails from Mason bragging about your arrangement. I watched the color drain from his face. The bravado collapsed. I was protecting the company, he whispered. Rachel's too emotional. She'd be terrible in leadership. Vanessa slid a termination letter across her desk. You're done. Security will escort you out. Your access is already revoked. David stood, trembling. You can't. I already have, Vanessa said. 2 guards appeared. As they let him out, he turned to me. This is all your fault. I met his eyes. No, David, it's yours. The news spread through Meridian like wildfire. By lunch, everyone knew David and Mason were gone. By 2 p.m., my inbox had 73 congratulatory emails, but one message stood out. From Sarah Chen at Atlas Tech. Heard about the drama, impressed by how you handled it. Would you consider consulting for us directly? $150 an hour, freelance basis. I read it 3 times. This was bigger than a promotion. This was independence. I accepted immediately. Vanessa approved it. Atlas was a major client, and keeping me happy was her priority now. At home, Carlos and Jace updated the security system. No breaches, Carlos reported. Mason's been quiet online. Detective Rivera called. We found more on Mason's computer. He'd been planning this for 6 months, had a folder labeled Operation Rachel. He was going to take your job, then push David out too. You were just his first step. The folder included screenshots of Emma's medical bills, our mortgage statements, even photos of our house from Google Maps. He'd been stalking us. He's going away for a long time, Rivera said. Wire fraud, cybercrime, stalking, we're adding charges. That night, Mike and I told Emma the good news. Mommy got a big promotion, I said. Emma smiled her thin, chemo-weary smile. Does that mean you can come to my school play? My heart broke and healed at the same time. Yes, baby. Nothing will make me miss it. David Klein's termination triggered a domino effect. 3 other employees came forward with stories about him taking credit for their work. One woman, Priya from accounting, had been forced to let David put his name on a cost-saving algorithm she'd created. She'd been denied a bonus because of it. Another designer, Marcus, showed emails where David had deleted his portfolio from the company server before a performance review. The pattern was clear. David had built his career on stolen work. Mason was just his latest weapon. Vanessa called an all-hands meeting. We're implementing a new system, she announced. Every project will have a digital fingerprint. Every file access will be logged. No more credit stealing, no more sabotage. She looked directly at me. And we're appointing a chief ethics officer, Rachel Park. The room erupted. I hadn't known about this. Vanessa had just promoted me again publicly. Your first job, she said afterward, is to rebuild trust. Starting with a full audit of David's past projects. I spent the weekend with Leo, the forensics specialist, combing through 5 years of company files. We found 17 instances of David's theft. Total value, $4.7 million in lost bonuses and promotions for employees he'd suppressed. I drafted a report so detailed, so damning, that Meridian's board had no choice. They authorized a restitution fund. Every victim would be paid back with interest. The amount for Priya and Marcus, $80,000 each. For me, $50,000, retroactive to when David had blocked my first promotion. Monday morning, I had an email from Claire, Mason's soon-to-be ex-wife. He's out on bail, moved in with his brother. I have Emma and me in a safe house. Thank you for everything. I forwarded it to Detective Rivera. He responded immediately. We're monitoring him, but Rachel, there's something else. Mason's brother works for a private investigator firm. We think Mason's planning to dig up dirt on you, try to discredit you. My jaw clenched. He just wouldn't stop. I called Vanessa. I need to go on the offensive, I said. Legal-wise. She connected me to Meridian's top attorney, Jonathan Reed. He listened to the whole story, then smiled. We can file a civil suit today, seek an injunction against him contacting you or your family. And Rachel, with the evidence we have, I can make sure he never works in this industry again. We filed at 3 p.m. By 4:30, a judge had granted a temporary restraining order. Mason couldn't come within 500 feet of me, my family, or Meridian Digital. He also couldn't speak about the case publicly. The order was served at his brother's house at 5:47 p.m. I know because Detective Rivera sent me a photo. Mason's face, red and twisted, as the officer handed him the paperwork. He tried to slam the door, but his brother stopped him. Let it go, Mason, his brother said, loud enough for the officer's body cam to record. The brother looked tired. Done. I forwarded the photo to Mike with the caption, "He can't hurt us now." He replied with a heart emoji and a picture of Emma sleeping peacefully. That night, I slept without checking the locks 3 times. Progress. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A Twitter notification from a burner account, at Justice for Mason. Rachel Park is a liar who framed an innocent man. Proof coming soon. The account had 3 followers, but by morning it had 300. By noon, 3,000. Mason was orchestrating a smear campaign from his brother's basement. Vanessa called an emergency meeting. He's trying to control the narrative, she said. We need to get ahead of this. I pulled up the account on my laptop. The tweets were clever half-truths. Me stealing Mason's ideas, screenshots he'd edited. Me conspiring with Claire a photo of us at the coffee shop. Me bullying David an out-of-context email where I'd CC'd HR. He'd been planning this even before he was fired. I showed Vanessa the watermark evidence, the trackware logs, Claire's bruise photos. Let him talk, I said. We're going to bury him with the truth. I drafted a thread. Not defensive, factual, screenshots with dates, metadata. The bar recording. I hit publish at 3:47 p.m. It had 10,000 retweets by dinner. The internet did its work. Threads debunking Mason's lies appeared within hours. A former coworker from his previous job recognized the pattern and posted her own story. Then another. By morning, Mason Reeves's fraud was trending nationally. News outlets picked it up. Business Insider called for a comment. I declined, directing them to Meridian's legal team. They ran the story anyway. Digital saboteurs' smear campaign backfires spectacularly. Mason's brother, the Pie, called me directly. He's destroying himself, he said. I can't stop him, I'm cutting him off. He sent me a file. Text messages from Mason to Claire, threatening to kill himself if she didn't recant her statement. He's bluffing, the brother said, but I wanted you to know you might want to alert the authorities. I forwarded them to Detective Rivera. He replied, On it, we're taking him into custody for violating his restraining order. He used his brother's computer to post those tweets. I felt a pang of guilt. Then I looked at Emma's drawings on my desk. No, he'd made his choices. Claire called me from her safe house. He tried to call Emma's hospital, she whispered, asked for her treatment schedule. The nurse recognized his voice from the news and called security. My blood turned to ice. Is she okay? She's fine. The hospital has a new protocol, no information without a password. I'd set that up last week after the Twitter incident. Thank God, Detective Rivera called again. We have him. He violated the restraining order 7 times, posted threats online. Tried to contact your daughter's medical team. He's going away for a long time. The judge denied bail this time. Flight risk, she said, and danger to the community. I watched the arraignment on Zoom. Mason looked broken, unshaven, his expensive suit replaced with an orange jumpsuit. He pled not guilty. His court-appointed lawyer looked like she wanted to quit on the spot. The prosecutor added new charges: witness intimidation, cyber-stalking, attempted harassment of a minor. The sentence range, 8 to 15 years. As they let him out, he looked at the camera, directly at me. I didn't look away. I let him see what he'd created, a woman who couldn't be deleted. The trial was set for 3 months out. I used that time to build something permanent. I created a nonprofit called the Cash Project. Its mission: protect creative workers from idea theft. We offered free legal consultations, digital security training, and a hotline for victims. Within weeks, we had 500 members. Fortune 500 companies started calling, asking for corporate training. I'd become an accidental expert. Mike handled the admin while I ran the programs. Emma, now in remission, helped by drawing flyers. Her superhero character, Cash Girl, became our mascot. I testified before the state legislature about digital employee rights. A bill named after Emma passed unanimously. It required all companies to implement activity logging software for projects over $10,000. Vanessa testified too. So did Priya and Marcus. We were an army of originals. Mason's trial became a footnote. He accepted a plea deal: 7 years, no contact with victims, full restitution. The judge asked if I wanted to speak at sentencing. I declined. I'd already said everything that mattered. The day after Mason was sentenced, I got an email from his brother. He's refusing to pay restitution. Says he'll die in prison before giving you a dime, but I found something. He has a trust fund from his grandmother. $300,000, it's in his wife's name. Claire is willing to sign it over to you. I stared at the screen. That money would cover Emma's college fund, our mortgage, the nonprofit's operating costs for a year, but it felt like blood money. I called Claire. Keep it, I said. For you and Emma, start over, she cried. Rachel, I can't. You can, I interrupted. You escaped, that's worth more than any check. She sent me a photo a week later. Her and little Emma at a new house, a backyard with a swing set. The caption, "Thank you for giving us our lives back." I saved it to a folder labeled Real Victories. That night, Mike and I celebrated quietly. Takeout from our favorite place. Emma asleep in her room, finally healthy enough to have a normal bedtime. "You could have taken the money," Mike said. I shook my head. "Justice isn't a transaction, it's a transformation." He kissed my forehead. My superhero. A year later, I stood on a stage at a tech conference delivering a keynote, 2,000 people in the audience. I told the story, not just Mason's theft, but David's complicity, the system that allowed it, the tools that stopped it. I showed the watermark technique, the trackware logs I made at a workshop. "Protect your cash," the screen read behind me. The talk was streamed live. It hit 1 million views in 24 hours. Comments flooded in. "This saved my career." "I caught my boss stealing because of you." I started backing up everything. The next day, a package arrived at my office. No return address. Inside was a cheap USB drive and a note. "I have proof your boss is still stealing. Meet me at the cafe on 5th and Main, tomorrow 10 a.m. My heart stopped. Mason was in prison. David was blacklisted. Who could this be? I almost threw it away. Then I noticed the handwriting. Familiar, Priya from accounting. The one I'd helped get restitution. She discovered something new. A different manager. A different theft. I smiled. The work was never done. I forwarded the USB to Vanessa. "We have another problem," I wrote, "but this time we're ready." The cafe meeting wasn't dramatic. Priya sat in the back, looking exhausted. "It's the new VP, Rachel," she whispered. "He's taking credit for my quarterly analysis. Same pattern as David, I found the emails." She showed me her phone, screenshots of the VP asking her to share her files, then presenting them as his own in a board meeting. The date was yesterday. "He's done it to 3 others," she said. "We're scared. We thought the system would protect us, but..." I felt the familiar anger rise. Then I looked at her face, not fear, resolution. "You came to me," I said. "That's the system working." I pulled out a pre-printed form. "File a report, we'll run forensic analysis, he won't see it coming." She filled it out right there. At 11 a.m., I walked into Vanessa's office. "History is repeating," I said, slapping the form on her desk. She read it, her jaw tight. "I'll handle it personally. Thank you, Chief Ethics Officer." Walking back to my desk, I realized something. The system I'd built didn't just protect me, it protected everyone. That was better than any revenge. That was legacy. The VP was gone by Friday. Our system worked. No drama, no deleted files, just clean, documented justice. Priya got her promotion. The other victims got their back pay. I added the case study to the Cash Project website. Traffic spiked again. A law firm offered me a retainer to consult on intellectual property cases. I declined. I didn't want to profit from pain. I wanted to prevent it. Emma's doctor called. Her scans were clear. 2 years cancer-free. We cried on the phone. That night, Mike and I took her to dinner. She ordered the most expensive dessert on the menu. "Because we can," she said, grinning. Her hair had grown back, thick and curly. She looked like a different kid, a healthy one. At home, I found a letter in the mailbox, no return address. Prison stationery, I almost threw it away. But curiosity won, I opened it. Inside was a single sheet, Mason's handwriting. "I'm sorry, I know it doesn't matter. But I am. I destroyed my life trying to be you. I hope your daughter stays well." That was it. No request, no demands, just apology. I folded it and put it in a folder labeled closure. I didn't forgive him, but I was done carrying him. 3 years after that first deletion, I stood in front of a new hire orientation class. 20 fresh faces, eager and naive. "Welcome to Meridian Digital," I said. "Where your ideas are yours, let me tell you a story." I walked them through Mason's deletion, David's complicity, the system we'd built to stop it. I showed them how to watermark their work, how to use trackware, how to protect themselves. A hand shot up. "What happened to Mason?" a young woman asked. "Prison," I said simply. "That's not the point. The point is you'll never need to worry about that here because we're watching, not to police you, to protect you." After class, she approached me. Her name badge read, Leela Chen, no relation. "I had a boss steal my designs at my last job," she whispered. "I quit, came here because of your reputation." I handed her my card. "If anything feels off, you call me direct line." She smiled, relieved. That's when I knew. The Cash Project had worked. We weren't just a company anymore. We were a sanctuary. A month ago, I got a call from the state governor's office. They wanted me to serve on a task force for digital worker protections. I accepted. My first meeting was in the Capitol building, a room with mahogany tables and portraits of old white men. I sat at the head of the table. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, "idea theft costs our state $2 billion a year in lost innovation, turnover, and therapy bills." I slid a folder across the table. "Here's how we stop it." The bill we drafted, the Cash Act, passed 6 months later. It was the first statewide law of its kind. Other states copied it. At the signing ceremony, Emma stood next to me in a dress she'd picked out herself. "Mom, you're on TV," she whispered. I knelt down. "Remember, baby, you can't delete someone who backs themselves up." She laughed. That night, I checked my email. A message from an unknown sender. I almost deleted it. Then I saw the subject. "Thank you." It was from Claire, Mason's ex-wife. "Emma and I are starting a support group for survivors of workplace abuse. Would you be our first speaker?" I typed back immediately. "Name the time and place. I'll be there." Some caches are worth keeping. So here's the truth about revenge. Everyone wants the fire, the destruction, the moment the villain falls. I got that. Mason's in prison. David's blacklisted. Their lives are rubble. But that's not what I remember when I look back. I remember Emma's drawings, Mike's tears of relief, Priya's promotion, the Cash Project's first member, the law with Emma's name on it, Leela Chen's grateful smile. Those are my real victories, because the best revenge isn't about making someone pay. It's about making their behavior irrelevant. I built a world where Mason couldn't exist. A world where originals are protected, where deletion is impossible, where trust is earned and tracked. I didn't destroy him. I deleted the conditions that created him. That's what I tell myself when I see his prison photo online. When I hear he's up for parole in 2 years. It doesn't matter. He can't touch us. The system I built is stronger than one man's malice. Emma's latest drawing shows a fortress made of computers. Cash Castle, she calls it, where ideas are safe. I framed it in my office next to her first superhero picture. Some days I think about sending Mason a copy. Let him see what he created. But I don't. Because the real revenge is this. I barely think about him at all. I'm too busy building the future. And in that future, no one gets deleted, ever again.